Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing.
Hey, what's up, Progressive Overload fam? We are back in the studio. It is great to be back.
Nice to have you back, D-Money.
Golly, what's it been? It's been almost, 2 months?
At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Been busy.
Dude, life has been crazy, as you guys know. Things have been happening very quick for me, and has been one thing after another. But just as way of catching up, it's been good. I've been keeping up a little bit with what we've been going through on the podcast. Yeah. Still plugged in behind the scenes, doing a little editing and on the tech side. But yeah, it's been fun. You guys have been doing great. And I am glad to be back in the studio and with our listeners/viewers today. Well, today we have another face here on the podcast that you guys may or may not recognize from some of Tyson's posts on social media. Tyson, this is one of your extremely good lifelong friends.
He's my brother.
Give him a good introduction.
Yeah, let me just stay with this. So we've been friends since I was 5 years old.
And it's
so strange because we were just talking about his son, little Jax. You know, Jax is he's 8 now, 7?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And, we were talking about dude, we were friends when we were that age.
It's
wild.
That's phenomenal.
But, so, we go way, way back. But, yeah, he's been training with me for the past working on 2-3 years and pretty consistently. And I'd say he's my top fighter for sure.
Dude, that is so awesome, especially you guys being able to blend kind of what you do and your passions together, and to work together in that environment. Especially from my perspective, the way I see it, for you not only to have that friendship, but to have maintained it for so long. Since you were that young, man, I think back and I think to all the friends that I had when I was that age, and I'm like, man, where are these people?
Yeah, that's rare. That's very rare.
They're there, but it is in today's society. It is a rarity to have a friendship like that lasts that long and stays that strong. Really, awesome. From then forward. So that's awesome to hear. And Calvin, we're glad to have you here on the podcast.
Has Tyson always been this cocky since he was 5 years old?
Absolutely not.
No.
Nope. He was the small guy. He was the little brother.
I was.
Right.
That's why I'm so tough.
Nice.
It got beat into me.
Right. That makes sense. It's all coming together now.
Yeah. Exactly. At some point, Tyson just flipped the switch and, became who he is today.
Suddenly, all of my older cousins and friends, they don't all want to pick on me anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I welcome it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Calvin, when did you start fighting about the same time Tyson did, or did you start later, or what?
The first time he had a fight, I guess a sanctioned bout, I showed up. I was just completely amazed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, you got there. What are you doing to do this? Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And there was no reason. So he said, well, all you got to do is show up.
Just show up.
Right.
That's so cool.
And I say it to myself all the time. I've never been disappointed when I left the gym.
Right.
I've never been like, man, I wish I didn't go get better today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So and that thought made me just go back over and over and over. And then him,
absolutely.
no, it's okay if you don't come train today. Just that guilt.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the cool things about having that brother that's in that same space with you is the way that you push each other.
Oh, certainly.
Exactly.
It's that whole concept of iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. Right.
And
right.
you guys keep each other sharp and keep each other accountable, and I respect that. I've seen a little glimpse into your world, seen both you go to work a little bit, and it's been fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that here in the near future, Tyson.
Yes, sir.
As things get off the ground with your big projects you got going on.
Yeah, we're in the process of opening up that gym. I'm
Yeah.
thinking December 5th is the official open
That's
date.
a big day.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
I literally, I haven't even told you this. I was literally talking to a family member of mine who lives in Bryson, and he's a high school student getting ready to go into college. And he's seen me, he's interacted with me on social media and stuff, just seen some of my workout posts and whatnot. And he just threw the question out of, hey, what are you doing? Right. And I was like, well, right now I lift, do a little running, but mainly lift. here pretty soon and pick up some classes.
Yes, sir.
And he was like, wait, really? Like, you're just going to do it for workouts or you're actually going to compete? And I said, we'll see. I don't know. He said, dude, I'll be there. He was all in. He was excited. So there is some buzz that's going around.
For sure.
It's good to hear.
So Calvin and I both will be coaches up there. And the fact that we're both active fighters, I think, speaks volumes to the quality of training that we'll be able to provide.
Absolutely.
Well, we've been to the battlefield. We know what works.
Mm-hmm.
We know what's effective.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to train other people.
Right.
You
And
know.
speaking of which, Calvin, he's actually in the process of his fight camp right now. And
Oh, boy.
6 weeks in.
Yeah, December 2nd, he's going to battle again.
Oh, that's soon.
Respect,
Yeah.
man.
2
It's
weeks
around
out.
the corner.
Yep. Big shout out to Brian Foster and the promotion up there,
For sure.
River City Fights,
Okay.
for finding me another opponent after I think I was 5 weeks in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Drop out.
had a guy drop
no.
out, and I had a specific camp designed to fight that
Right.
guy.
Right.
And they found a new opponent, and really nothing's changed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're still drilling the same game plan,
Right.
and I can't wait. I'm
Just-
super excited. I'm in the
That's
water load
exciting,
right
dude.
now, and it's
2 gallons?
2 gallons a day.
Joe
yeah,
knows a
it's
little bit about
tough.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And,
We've talked about the loading.
Love it.
Did you do the water cut with them, Dustin?
I don't. Did
At
I?
the end of the challenge?
To the end of the challenge, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
That's what I thought.
I thought it
You're
was all
right.
3 of you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they've gone through the water cut before, and
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's definitely tough.
It
Well,
is.
You know,
It's tough.
when some people are saying, well, how do you walk around at that weight,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you lose 15 pounds in a week, and they're like, so all I got to do is drink 2 waters or 2 gallons. I'm like, no. It's a
Wait,
complete
wait.
lifestyle that goes
Yes.
around it. You know, it's like,
yeah.
it's super hard to cut that amount, but
Right.
it's
It takes discipline.
It
it
definitely does,
takes discipline. It takes consistency. Like, you have to be about that lifestyle.
Right.
From the second that I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, from the second that you find out you have a fight to the second that you step in the ring, like, there is one singular focus that you were wholeheartedly locked in on.
It's all
Yeah.
consuming. Yeah,
and
I'm sure.
it
It's all you think
absorbs
about.
everything. Like the process of knowing that you're about to go to battle affects everything, every
Right.
No,
decision,
you're
every
absolutely
moment
right.
of every day. Like, it almost, even if you have those extra moments, like, family, whatever, like, even the time with them even gets filtered to an extent,
Right.
almost
Exactly.
through this is what we've got coming up.
Well,
Yeah.
a big thing too when you join a fight camp, and this kind of goes into what we're talking about today. But you actually start to incorporate more advanced techniques. You start
Right.
incorporating more. Fighting for a fight camp is
Yeah.
is advanced right off the bat
Oh, yeah.
anyway. But
I was
you
just
definitely
about to say, having a guy like him in my corner who built out a specific, it's so many people don't have their camp written down in front of them
Right.
Yeah.
to where they can step by step
program
take
it out.
Walk through it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's made a huge difference, and
Mhm.
it is definitely a lot more advanced
Yeah,
than what I'm
for sure.
used to.
Yeah.
You know, and he said, well, this is a pro fight camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how
Yeah.
you become professional. Right?
Exactly.
You know? So I mean,
Shout out to Tyson over here with
thank you,
his
thank you.
programming, putting the science behind
And
it.
it's
man.
That's right.
true advanced.
And it's intimidating too. And I understand that. So it's kind of like having to break it down. And he's learned a whole lot just from this fight
Yeah.
camp alone.
Right.
And being able to digest that and be able to use that and later be able to train others coming up, it's
Yeah.
going to be huge.
Right.
Well, so many people they think
Yeah.
the fight's the hard part, but
Oh, yeah.
8 weeks before,
Sure,
sometimes
sure.
6, 5, or short notice, but still that's the hard part, and that's where I've actually learned the most, and even I can go in there and take a loss and still come out
Winning.
winning.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
the thing. And I'm a firm believer that even if you were to step in the ring and by all means they count it as a loss, whatever, it's not a loss as long as you learn.
Right.
Right.
And all you're doing, like, even as you're walking through fight camp and you're going through all these things, is you're developing a knowledge base that you're going to be able to pull from in the future for the
Exactly,
next
yeah.
time that you go through fight camp, the next time that you step into the ring, or like Tyson said, the next time that you have somebody else that you're pouring into, that
Right.
you're helping to
For
train or helping to learn and grow. Like that's all of the things you're going through now are going to culminate and end with that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So advanced lifting techniques is on the agenda today, and I'm sure there's a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today that you see in your fight camps. Same thing as you, Tyson.
Yeah.
I wanted to be clear that when we're talking about these are things that a lot of times are not for beginners.
Mhm.
You need to almost
Sure.
earn these kind of techniques. You don't want to start off with a lot of worrying about these techniques until you have 6 to 12 months of solid, consistent strength training under your belt. And a lot of these techniques are excellent plateau busters. So if you feel like you've been going through a program for 6 or 12 months, maybe longer,
Mhm.
and you're just not seeing the progress that you think you would, try some of these techniques, and I think you will see some really, really good benefits. So the first one I want to talk about today is one that we've shortly mentioned on the podcast before, but I wanted to dive into it a little bit more today, which is tempo.
Mhm.
Y'all ever focus on tempo training?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, your intensity on how fast the bar moves.
Exactly.
And what's your
Yes.
recovery rate. And in fact, that's one of the things on his program that is written out underneath each one of the lifts.
Great.
Is exactly what percentage of your tempo and I forget the exact lingo that I used, but what is your tempo while lifting?
Right.
You know, and it should
Mhm.
be a 75%
Mhm.
max effort
Right.
as far as effort put into the bar.
Right.
I'm not talking about rep range, or I'm not talking about weight percentage,
Right.
but just the tempo itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about tempo, there's kind of two different. What you're kind of explaining is what we call bar speed, and so you can determine kind of how easy a lift feels or how hard it feels based on how fast you're able to get the bar moving.
Correct.
Mhm.
But if I'm writing a strength and conditioning program for somebody and I give them a tempo, it's going to be in a number format. Excuse me. So let's go through some of the number formats that you might use for a specific type of program, and we'll break those down. And so the first one I wanted to talk about was a hypertrophy tempo. So they're expressed in a sequence of 4 numbers, and so a hypertrophy, which is muscle building, muscle mass increasing,
Okay.
is the 4020 or the 40-20 tempo. And so what this means is the first number is your descent, is your eccentric movement. So say for visualization purposes, let's do a squat.
Right.
So the 4 is 4 seconds into the negative. Goodness, sorry.
Typhoid Joe
I
is
know.
back.
Strikes
Z-
again.
He's got the
I got the
family
tissues.
size tissue box.
Yes, sir.
Family size.
Normally he brings a snot rag.
I know, I forgot it. That's the only reason I have those. Anyways, so 4 is your negative. 0 is how much time you spend at the bottom of the rep.
lift, yeah.
2 is the ascent, so the concentric movement, and then the fourth digit is how much time you spent in between reps in the racked position.
Okay.
So 4 seconds down, 0 second pause, 2 second concentric, 0 second. Goodness gracious!
Which, by the way, is definitely lengthens the amount of time under the bar.
Absolutely.
And it lengthens the
Yeah.
time
Under tension.
Under tension.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, and so focusing on that negative, a 4 second negative is I mean that's a good amount of time under that bar.
One of my favorite ways to actually use the negative to actually get hypertrophy is on pull-ups.
Ooh, yeah.
So when
Yes.
Kelly was first trying to learn to be able to do a pull-up, one thing that we started out with was exactly trying to slow down that eccentric movement just as slow
Yeah.
as you can, and slowly but surely she was able to build up enough strength to where she now could actually do the concentric movement
That's
and
great.
be able to pull herself up.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
eccentric training is
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I will
Major.
eventually do a pull up one day, maybe.
That's the formula I found to work the best.
That's awesome.
the
That's
formula I need to get better at pull-ups is to lose about 75 pounds.
great. Hey,
Then
listen.
I'll be solid at pull-ups.
If I could do that, might have a chance. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree. I think you just need to add 70 pounds worth of muscle strength.
Oh, man. Okay.
Pulling
I mean,
power.
if I could choose either of those, I would definitely choose
Let's get on that
gaining
lat pull.
75. Yeah.
Let's
I
get
do.
on
I do
that
it all the
lat pull.
time. I do it all the
Let's
time.
add some. Nickel it up, baby.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
if you're training for strength, the next one would be the 2-1-2-2. So 2 second descent, 1 second pause at the bottom, 2 second descent or ascent, and then 2 seconds rest, and then do that again. So just real quick, endurance. If you're wanting to go for muscular endurance, we do a 1-0-1-0. So it's a lot faster paced. You're not resting between. You're just going. And training for power. The most popular rep range or tempo range there is 20x0, 20x0. The X stands for explode.
Yep.
So 2 second
Fast as you
downs,
can.
0 seconds, explode out of it, and then 0 seconds rest. So I went through that really quick.
So out of those tempos, right, because we talk about 4 different ones, there's a few different categories that we could fit our training into.
Right.
But I'm curious now, as fighters, which of those 4 do you feel you lean the most into?
Well, I'm going to say as far as for him specifically, he's kind of an endurance athlete already.
Right.
He's got a lot of lactic acid buildup where he's able to
respect that.
tolerate that. Those levels of lactic acid.
Mm-hmm.
So what we primarily needed to focus on was power.
Yeah.
We're trying to get pop on the end of the punches and pop on the edge of the kicks to be able to actually put damage on people.
Yeah.
And no, it's been working. It's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, I feel it. And I have
That's
the
awesome.
explosiveness that I didn't used to have,
That's awesome.
And like I used to run. Just run. He added sprints into my
Oh, that's a game changer.
my workout, and it's doing that, the lifting, exploding at the end. I mean, it's really
That's awesome.
I mean, like, I've worked with you, Tyson, a little bit on my own, and I'm by no means a professional athlete in any sense. But
pretty
as
close.
far as thanks, appreciate you. But as far as endurance and stamina goes, I categorize myself as having a fair amount. Especially I used to don't do as much running as I used to do, but when I was running super consistently, my endurance was there.
It was top notch.
And I remember jumping in the ring and getting tagged a few times by you, and we had some fun with that.
It was a good time.
But yeah, so I can see from that perspective, coming from a more endurance based background, where a little bit more of that power would be able to translate to helping.
And it's athlete to athlete.
Yeah.
That was just him specifically. Some of the athletes that we work with, that they require more strength for the grappling exchanges,
right?
And that's something we've also incorporated with him. Primarily focusing on the power, but strength is important too, to be able to actually hold down people and be able to get out of positions just using strength alone,
or just to get up,
just to get
off the ground
with someone on
somebody
your back.
trying to not let you off the ground.
Yeah. So. That's awesome that you, and I like that you point that out, that it is a case by case situation, athlete to athlete on what they need. And I'm sure, Joe, you see that in your world too, as you're incorporating this to different athletes or those who you may work with, as you see the fact that they have a specific need or goal or purpose in what they're doing, and you can use these methods to kind of cater to that. Like you said, it's advanced. It's not for a beginner. I still consider myself a beginner as far as lifting goes, and there's a lot of what we're going to talk about today that I haven't done. Right. But I can see that connection of using these case to case.
Right. And these are good for everyday people. I mean, most of our listeners are just at your average lifter.
Yeah.
And so I believe that even your average lifter that's not an athlete still needs to practice accessing their power.
Absolutely.
And improving their power. It's going to transition to longevity.
And you have worked with me to try and prioritize or focus on a few of these things. Yeah. In some cases, one thing though that you have done with me that I know all too well is the superset.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. This is probably the least advanced of our list today, but it's still something that a beginner shouldn't be doing right off the bat.
Check. It's on my list. Done. We don't have to go back to that.
Oh,
just
you're
to be
go back
clear,
to that.
we can.
Dude, I love supersets because I tend to always gravitate towards like the bodybuilding type of lifting style, and so I love supersets. I love getting pumps and burns and stuff like that.
So go ahead and explain what a superset is to our listeners.
Yeah, so a superset, whenever you pick 2 exercises, and we'll go through a couple different ways that you can do it, and then you just do them back to back. So if I have quick example, if I have 3 sets of 10 and I want to hit biceps, I'll pick a bicep curl with dumbbells, and then I'll do like a cable bicep curl, and then I'll do one with the dumbbells, one with the curls, rest, one with the dumbbells, one with the curls, rest, and so there's no rest in between the 2 sets.
And you're hitting the same muscle bellies twice in a row.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. There's a couple different categories in between that, because you can do antagonist ones, which is where, in that case, an antagonist superset would be I hit the biceps with 1 set and then a tricep with the next set.
So something that contrasts.
Yeah, and or if you wanted to do like, okay, I'm going to do like some goblet squats to hit my quads.
Sure.
With a straight leg deadlift to hit my hamstrings. Yeah. And so I can hit my quads and my hamstrings in the same set. And so it's a great way to just really, really pump up one body part.
Now I'll say as fighters, we kind of stray away from the more bodybuilding-esque
Right,
types of
of
lifts.
course.
We want more compound lifts where
course.
it's primarily hitting multiple muscle groups at the same time,
Exactly.
and so the body works as one unit.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I don't use a whole lot of supersets
Yeah.
in our lifting form, and that's when I'm lifting for myself, and it's just for aesthetics.
Right.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. That's
Sure.
I was about to say the same thing.
Sure.
That sounds more like how I lift when I'm alone.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's good if you want to do an athletic setting. What a good way to do it would be a pre-exhaust, which is another whatever. So if you're wanting to work on that power of your glutes,
Sure.
what you would do is superset let's say a glute bridge with a powerful squat.
Yeah.
And so you start by pre-exhausting the glutes and getting them firing hard, and then you work on that explosion out of the bottom of the squat, and you're gonna increase your power a lot more. But you can also use it like if you're a person that's a quad dominant squatter, and you have a hard time getting your glutes involved in your squat, do a pre-exhaust like I just said, where you're hitting your glutes before you go and do your compound barbell lift.
Yeah.
It's a really solid way to really get connected to the muscles you should be using during your squat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of ways you can use that pre-exhaust deadlift.
Right.
I mean pre-exhaust superset.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think the third one, compound. I think that's more so what you've had with me, right? That's just the kind of, I don't want to say run of the mill, the typical, how would you describe compound?
Yeah, compound. It's almost like I just talked about also using compound lifts to superset. So
Okay.
it's like a deadlift superset with a barbell good morning or RDL.
I
or
feel like
something like that.
I feel like one of the last few workouts that you've had me do had something of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways.
That's more familiar to me.
There's a lot of different
than
ways you can
anything.
do it, and there's really not a wrong way.
You know,
It's good for it's good if you're in a time crunch too, because you
Yeah.
get
Yes,
exercises done really quickly.
I have done that. I have been in the gym, looked at the clock, been like, man, I really need to get going. And so I started supersetting everything I was doing just to get out quick.
Yeah, you almost superset your whole workout.
Yeah.
It's like deadlift, bench, squat, just jump.
Sometimes if you're in a crunch, do it. It's not ideal because you're not going to have all of the energy needed for your compound lifts,
Right.
And you're not going to be able to focus on it as much as you need to, but it's still good for you.
You know, I'm looking at our list here, Joe, and I can audibly hear the sigh from every person who's listening, from their like inner, high school student thinking back to summers right before school starts.
I know where you're
What
going.
is something that they always get into?
Oh, yeah.
2-a-days, baby.
2-a-days.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, you two next to me know way more about that more recently than I haven't done 2-a-days since high school.
I haven't done
But
2-a-days,
I know,
period.
Well, yeah, but I know you guys are probably doing 2-a-days during your fight camps for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So what are you doing that currently?
I am, yeah. I mean,
What does that look like?
I usually try to bust out my cardio or something in the morning, and
Yeah.
like I said, if I'm lifting by myself, I tend to kind of power set everything, superset, and having somebody there helps me slow down because it like
Right.
talk to him and
Right.
wait for him to do his set,
Right.
and it kind of. So I tend to wait for him to
Yeah.
when
That
I
makes
try to
sense.
lift, and
Yeah.
then I can't really do a whole lot of my like Muay
Bag
Thai
work
training
without
or
the bag,
jiu-jitsu
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
without a partner. I mean, I can.
Right.
The way we train is so like it kind of reflects how long we've known each other, with how much we trust each other, because we can basically like
We can fight.
we
without
fight
hurting
with
each
no
other.
gloves on, no anything, and just come right to where we almost hit each other. But it's that trust and how we train, and having somebody like at the end of the day,
Right.
2-a-days has been pretty crucial, and but it's made a huge difference in my camp. So
And I can tell, just knowing you guys, that one big thing, especially as you're practicing and training for fights, like it is crucial, it is imperative that you guys get the muscle memory
Exactly.
of being against a actual real fighter. So for your training and purpose, you absolutely need that partner.
Right.
I can see that.
I actually just posted a clip not too long ago, and I didn't focus on it. I didn't see it at the time, but I watched it, and our feet were in such rhythm and sync in every step. It was,
that's so
it was
cool.
insane, but it's that muscle memory of like you already know what to do, and that's how I have to be in the ring, because
Right.
you know, you're not thinking about footwork when a
Yeah.
guy's swinging at you.
It just
For sure.
happens.
You know, it just happens. It has to be boom, instant.
That's so cool, man.
But yeah, the 2-a-days, I know for me specifically, a lot of the times, and what I've also got him doing is definitely get your cardio, get your road work in, whether it's a sprint workout or it's your actual long form running, followed by the afternoon session where we're hitting a really good strength session.
That's good.
And then technique stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so because the sport is so dynamic that it takes so many, it takes your anaerobic, aerobic, it takes good strength, good explosiveness. It's so involved that you have to have it all. You have to work on it all.
For sure. I love it. Well, for the average person, like I keep going back to that, but 2-a-days, first of all, are not necessary. Second of all, if you want to and you just want to be really serious, there's ways that you can go about it. You can get really good results out of it.
Well, what you said earlier, breaking plateaus.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I hear somebody who's asked, they've been lifting now for 2 years and they've been hitting your basic programs, 5x5s or whatever it is, and they're like, man, I can't go up and weight on my squat.
Right.
Well, how often are you hitting it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I hit it twice a week, you know, on a leg day, and you know.
Exactly.
Well, why don't we double that?
Yeah.
Why don't we start doing 2-a-days?
Yeah.
It's a great way to just slowly, you're getting more volume and more time
Absolutely.
underneath the bar, and more time underneath the bar equals more strength.
Of course, always.
That's just how it goes.
What you got to be careful about is that your body doesn't get adapted to that stimulus, because if you get to where your body gets adapted to 2-a-days, it's going to be really hard to overload that even more.
Right.
You can't go to 3-a-days.
Which is what we want during fights, though.
Well, right.
You know,
right.
But yeah, for the average person,
For lunge,
sure.
yeah.
I was going to say,
Exactly.
I'm literally in that situation. I have to run 2 miles to even start sweating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
2 miles
adapted.
into a run, and
Hey,
I'm like, oh,
that's
I
impressive.
finally started sweating.
It takes me 15 seconds.
I sweated walking up those stairs earlier.
I was
You
just telling
sweated
him,
looking at the stairs earlier, buddy.
it's like I was like, how am I going to sweat this much, man? I'm
Right.
Yeah.
sauna and
Mhm.
sweatpants,
Pretty
I
much
guess.
it,
You know,
dude.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, I'm literally at that point to where it's like
Yeah.
I have to almost dial it back
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because 2-a-days has just got my body so acclimated to just
Right,
pumping
right.
out
That's crazy.
energy.
So before we get too far, I did want to ask you too on your supersets.
Yeah.
What's your rep ranges that you like to go on those?
Typically, if I'm doing supersets, I'm in a hypertrophy block.
Yeah.
And so it'll be 10 to 12.
Yeah, I figured you went higher rep.
3 or 4 sets, 10 to 12. Yeah. Supersetting a strength phase just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work.
No.
And that was my point of it. That's the reason why I asked you. And that's
Gotcha.
the reason
That's
why
a good point.
we
Yeah.
don't typically do that is because we're developing the strength part of it.
Exactly.
And it's super hard to hit heavy deadlifts and then
Yeah.
superset it with something
yeah.
else.
You're not letting your
Yeah.
body recover and rebuild those
Right.
ATP stores. So,
Correct.
Yeah. That's a good
Love
question. Good point. Training to failure is my
Okay.
next one.
Yeah.
This is something that is advanced and it should not be done often, but it is a good plateau buster. And when I say training to failure, what I mean when I'm coaching it is that means I can no longer perform a rep correctly with perfect form.
Mm-hmm.
Failure doesn't mean until you drop the bar, until you drop to your knees, until you can't lift it
Right.
physically.
Yeah.
Failure
Yeah.
means I cannot lift it with perfect form anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Don't watch my workout. That's me like every time.
training to failure it's almost like it creates too much damage for what it's worth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
And it can fry your central nervous system too.
You can also use it for a tool though, and I know I've said this on the podcast, and it's one of my favorite ways to actually train to failure, and it is actually supersetting things
Right.
such as like a bench
Right.
followed by supersets of push-ups.
Yeah.
It's a
I love
great way to train and then after you've hit your heavy bench, you got your strength in. Now we start working that hypertrophy, and we burn out with all the push-ups that we can do, and it's safe. I mean,
Right.
worst case scenario, your form fails and you fall, a foot
Yeah.
Right.
to
Exactly.
your face.
Exactly. You're not going to injure yourself by
Worst
doing push-ups
case,
to failure.
you end your push-ups like me starting mine,
Getting
just hitting the floor.
right.
Because
Training that chin.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure training to failure it would be beneficial in the fighting scenario though.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can for
'Cause
sure
you're-
see, because like in my mind, you're pushing your body like to the limit that it can physically go,
Right.
and in some cases even like slightly past that, and that's, I mean, when
Those
you're
are
in the
some of
ring,
my best workouts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You get pushed to that edge.
that-
And
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what I love to do too, and he's been a witness to this, is after really hard sparring or hard bag work or whatever, and now we technical drill, but it's full blast, and it's like, okay, I mounted you. You're at war. I mean, you were wore out.
Yeah,
now
man.
get out of here.
Oh man.
And if I get out,
Get back
I
in.
just gotta lay back down. And
Lay back down, let's
Get
go
in the
again.
worst position possible.
Yeah.
Golly.
It's,
Okay, survive here.
Yeah.
You know,
Meanwhile, you're getting punched in the face.
I would panic.
But that's the point.
and staying
I
calm
know,
in that
man.
moment.
That's the whole point.
That's
Is
just
what you have to have that muscle
y'all are
memory.
built for something I'm not.
Well, it's just that, and it's not built. It's
Forged.
It's forged.
It's forged. That's a good word.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But you're either being mounted or you're being punched, or it's like I'm on your back and you're fighting off a choke, and I'm
Right.
trying to get around your neck, and that's, you talk about setting some panic.
Right.
Over and
Right.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you go back to, like you mentioned, you got that just innate trust with each other
Oh,
to
exactly.
know that the other person's not going to push it too far.
Oh right.
You know, you're going to continue to push each other to go to that limit. And as you're developing that muscle memory and going through those scenarios, like those are going to be the exact moments that you're put into when you're actually in the ring.
Definitely.
Exactly.
And you're prepared.
Now I
Right.
will say it puts strain on the friendship too, because you
Hey.
know whenever
Oh,
you're
man.
That's it.
whenever you're give out tired, and I'm saying one more, we're hitting mitts, and he's like,
Right.
I'm done. I'm like, no, we're not.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Keep going, buddy.
Keep
Yeah.
going.
Put them gloves up. Let's go.
He was helping me for my last fight, and we were working clinch drills, and I was just tired. And it's like, all right, the bell finally went off, and he starts messing with the clock. He's like, all right, we're gonna do another one in about a minute and a half. Oh my god!
Screw that.
Yeah. You talk about just want to walk away.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The way I pair my training to failure is with actually the next point, which is drop sets.
Yeah.
And so some people call it running the rack. If you might have heard that. A drop set is when you. So my last program that I just did, my split program, I had drop set AMRAPs, which is pretty much failure because AMRAP stands for as many reps as possible.
I just saw you do this.
Yeah. So say I was doing. I think one particular I did a goblet squat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with a 100-pound dumbbell, and I did goblet squats to failure, which once again means till I could not perform with perfect form.
Was
Then
that what, 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Reps?
Oh, to failure.
I watched him
Sorry,
hit too.
Yeah. No, I think I got like 17 or 18. I don't remember. But then
It's just
I
Just a casual.
No big
Just,
deal.
you know.
18,000. I mean, so and then I immediately drop that weight, get the next set down, or like 5 or 10 pounds less
Yeah.
than that. Immediately go right back into another set to failure.
There
And then
was
same thing for 3 or 4 sets. I end up
you did a
40 pounds
workout
less.
I think like 2 weeks ago,
I was
and
in
we
the
were
last phase.
working out at the same time. And I want to say you did this training to failure and
set.
drop setting with. I think you did cable curls and did it.
Probably so. Yeah, I did.
And
a bunch of
and I
different things.
want to say I saw you do it with reverse flies
Probably
with
so.
dumbbells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so once again, it was something that I only did that for 3 or 4 weeks before
Yeah,
I was just done
yeah.
with it because it was so much.
It's tough.
Oh,
It's
A
hard on the
lot of
body.
reps. Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. And it was frying me, but it was a good way to finish out a program.
Yeah.
But try that. It's a really good thing to do.
So here's a tip too. Don't do this while you're sick or about to be sick. If you start
That's a
to
very
really
good point, dude.
breaking down the body while you're like, I think I got a cold coming on. Don't go do supersets. Don't train to failure.
Very, very good point.
Yeah, don't, because
yeah.
you are risking, you will get sick.
Well, people don't know this, but when you exercise, your
You're
immune
attacking
system,
your body.
your immune system is attacked.
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
it's suppressed, and you're
100%.
actually more likely to catch something right after you exercise because of your it's a stress on your body.
We've
Sure.
been talking about this.
It builds up higher after you recover,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Anytime you start to feel a little icky or whatever else, just stay away from the gym for a little bit.
Right.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
Just slow it way down. I'm not saying don't go. I mean, you can go through the motions. You know,
Yeah.
show up,
Go on a
do
walk.
You know, do your deload or whatever.
Sure.
You know,
right.
but definitely don't try to push yourself then.
That's been my experience, you know, especially over the last couple months of there are days where physically I just don't feel it.
Mhm.
And I go and I push myself and I don't go heavy. I do probably a little less than normal, but I make myself go and do the work because I have to
Yeah.
stay disciplined. I know for me, I have to stay disciplined with my routine.
Sometimes it's a mental thing.
It is.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that.
Next one, we'll probably leave out number 8. We can talk about the last 2 and then talk a little bit about something else at the end. GVT. I know
GVT.
Tyson knows what that
in the
means.
world?
Yeah, so it's German volume training.
That's
is
right.
what it is.
Oh.
And
And it is terrible.
it is awful. It is awful. It's still done with heavy weights, but you're pushing as many reps as you can go. Typically, you do. It's not to failure though. You do set it out a high repetition amount though.
It's typically 10 sets of 10.
Yeah, that's usually. I've done 10 sets of 12 before. I've done 12 by 12s, which is
Those are awful.
And sometimes I don't know. I just get mad at myself, I guess, and decide I'm just going to hit heavy dumbbell
hate myself today.
GVTs.
Yeah.
All through all the motions. I'm going to hit goblet squats.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to hit dumbbell bench press, incline, decline. I just decide like I'm just going
How
to.
do you have time for that? Man,
Well,
that's rough.
I want to see it.
It's rough, bro. It's
Right
rough.
now?
No, well, not right.
Yeah, so you
now.
can do these on if you're trying to break a squat plateau, do one session of GVT with squats, and oh man, it's killer.
It does take time, like you were saying though.
Yeah.
But if you're weird like me and spend a lot of time in the gym by yourself, sometimes
Right.
fighting those demons, it's the best time
Right.
to do it, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's true.
Goes
Have you ever
back
done?
to that mental?
Have you ever done that high volume before?
No.
He hadn't hit that
No.
yet.
Not yet.
All right. We'll
I
get
fight
you
my
there.
demons running.
Right. Okay.
That's my alone time.
I see. You like that?
Yeah.
He's an endurance athlete for sure.
That's right.
But he's fallen in love with lifting, which is fun.
Yeah,
That's good.
It's making a huge difference.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I definitely
Okay, I
need to
need it.
incorporate this a lot more.
And as somebody who gets punched in the face by him weekly, I don't like it.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah, you're feeling the difference too. huh?
He's like, maybe you shouldn't.
Maybe we don't
lift as
lift.
much.
Maybe go run a little more,
Yeah.
lift a
Right.
little less.
All right.
Well,
Dustin.
That's
I was
funny.
sparring with one of our friends, Josh Alvarado, the other day, and I pulled an arm drag, and I took his back and was lifting him up, and over. He was just like, man,
Yeah.
you didn't used to be able to do that to
Right.
me.
Mhm.
You
Oh, I
know,
love
and
that.
Tyson Snugger is like, you guys, because your boy's been lifted.
Yeah.
You know? So and I didn't notice it, but hearing other people
Yeah.
notice it, you're like, oh, okay.
And
That feels good, doesn't
I
it?
Yeah,
can
for
say,
sure.
as somebody who is in that beginner lifter, like definitely like falling in love with it, like you said, really getting into it, to see other people notice the progress
Exactly.
is just,
Yeah.
Kind of just
It's
like
amazing.
throws a couple more logs underneath
Absolutely.
the fire.
Mhm. It helps to strengthen that mentality. It's just,
I
it's
think
massive.
I think that's one way that he's actually realized how important lifting is, because what I've tried to do is explain in what position does this lift help you, right?
Right.
Like for
Yeah.
instance, like a row, right?
Mhm.
Well, whenever you're clinching somebody and you're trying to get a body lock and you're
Yeah,
pulling that
them toward
person to you,
Yeah.
specifically that makes that easier.
Right.
That's awesome.
And so I think that's really kind of connected fighting and lifting for him, and that's what it did for me too. You know,
Right.
suddenly I didn't care to lift
Yeah.
until I found out it made me better at fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I love it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
The last one I want to talk about today is partial reps. And so if you go to a Planet Fitness, you'll probably see a lot of partial reps,
Yeah,
but not the kind that we're
unintentionally.
talking about today.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. If you go to Planet Fitness, it's fine. I'm glad you're there. But it was just a joke. So if you see like this old man, which this is where I see it the most, old dudes for some reason have no clue how to lift a weight through an entire range of motion.
No.
It drives me insane.
Yes.
But if you see some dude that's jacked, knows what he's doing a partial rep or a half rep, he's probably doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way we use partial reps is to get us stronger in specific motions within a lift.
Yeah.
If you seem to be weaker at the bottom of a squat, or maybe even at the top of your squat, doing half reps from the bottom up or half reps from the top up, I know this might be hard for you to visualize, is going to help you get stronger within that range of motion within that lift. And so that's pretty much all there is to it. If you feel weaker at the bottom of your chest press, doing half reps from your chest to 90 degrees and the chest 90 degrees, there's a lot of different ways that you can use that as a tool to continue to break those plateaus.
Personally, I use partial reps primarily in my warm-ups.
Oh yeah.
I like to go through the end of the range, and then I go to the top, and I kind of warm up the scapula, depending on what movement I'm doing.
Right.
But I like to try to go
Sure.
break down each part of the movement as part of my warm-up.
Before you put it all together. I like that. That's good. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I know you said skipping 8, but I don't know what BFR is.
Yeah, you do. Blood flow restriction.
Oh, I do. Never mind.
Yeah.
You just shortened it.
Well, now we have to talk about it.
You're
I
right.
heard
That's
that's
okay.
becoming more popular.
It is. It's becoming very popular. Real quickly, blood flow restriction is where you use some sort of tourniquet or wrap to restrict blood flow from the muscle group that you're using. And what it does is it keeps the lactic acid from being able to remove the muscle, so it builds up. And you can use a significantly lighter weight to create just as much muscle damage as if you were able to use a larger weight. So in therapy, it's really, really popular. They will use it to work a quad with 5 pounds to create muscle damage, whereas it would normally take 30 pounds to create the same damage or whatever, something like that. And so
it works really well with recovery for sure. And in fact, a lot of my guys, I'm not sure if I've used it on you, Calvin, or not, but a few of the fighters and stuff, I've got this stuff. It's called floss.
I remember you telling me
which
about
is just
that.
an elastic band rubber.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. And then, I've used it on you. I think for your elbow. But anyway, if you have a damaged body part, it's definitely good. And you don't want to leave it on too long, but you definitely want to do wrap out the affected area, and then use that affected area, your elbow, let's say, and you'll just do a couple push-ups.
Right.
Flex and extend the arm.
I do. I remember that. That was in my camp against Turbo.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Right. But and then as soon as you peel it off, you'll feel all that blood reach that area and stuff, which it also does the other thing. And I don't even know all the signs to it, but I know it definitely rushes the white blood cells to that area, which promotes healing.
That's right.
too.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
lots of good stuff with
Interesting.
BFR.
Yeah.
Well, sorry to make you talk about it.
Well, without
that's
that,
okay.
I wouldn't have been able to compete that night.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, literally, it was the day before or 2 days before. I was like, hey, we got to do something. I can't pop my jab out.
Right.
Without my jab, that's the basics.
Right.
So
I hit him with some ultrasound. I took him up,
Dang,
taped
dude.
him up. Yeah. I just snuck him up there, and we just did like a hour therapy session on it, ice massage, and then next thing you know, we went in there and beat the hell out of Turbo.
Wow. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
he was an intimidating opponent too.
Yeah,
I
shout
love
out to Turbo, by the way.
Yeah, Lamb Ford over there. It's an awesome gym.
They're cool too. They're cool people.
Hopefully he's listening.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You'll have to get him to listen now.
I know. There we go.
Give him plugs. So.
Expanding our listener base.
That's awesome, guys. That's awesome. Well, as we're just kind of wrapping up, I guess, our episode, come to our time here. Just to throw a nugget of wisdom, our wise man of the room is not here if nobody's put that together.
Yeah.
But shout out to Adam.
Adam the wise.
We love you, Adam, and we miss your wisdom here.
So I missed you, man.
But I can absolutely say that one of the biggest things for me that I'm hearing as we're just collectively sitting here and talking, and I mentioned it earlier towards the beginning of this episode, is that mentality of that iron sharpens iron, man.
Yeah.
Of just being able to band together and to sharpen ourselves, to grow ourselves, to improve ourselves.
Right.
And Calvin, Tyson, you guys have that in one another. As you're walking through this fight camp that you got coming up, you got your fight coming up. And you guys are in it together, because as much of it is as it is absorbing your world, Tyson is right there with you, and that's what it's for. Is you guys to keep each other sharp. Joe, like you've been that for me, whether you realized it or not. It's awesome being able to come and work out with you, and even if we're doing different things, but me just being able to observe you and have the encouragement from you and whatnot has been great in sharpening me in that aspect. But we also, for our listeners, we also want to make sure that we're implementing these things into our spiritual lives. And for us, finding that sometimes a spiritual mentor, sometimes just somebody who is further along in their faith journey than we are, to really speak into or breathe into our life with what they've experienced, and like we refer to Adam, their wisdom.
Right.
And I think that is important. I think that is something that kind of strengthens us to where, in those moments where it's as if we're training to failure and we've hit that point of exhaustion where we can no longer do anything else, we have that friend standing there beside us saying, hey, come on, one more.
Yeah.
We got this. Or like I've seen all over social media, you know, you got the spotter there that's like, you got one more, come on. And they help them with the bar up, and then they take their hands away, and like they help let them go through the motion as much as they can and help them as little as they need to. And they're like, no, keep going. But just that ability to sharpen one another and to push each other, even in our spiritual journey, in our faith, there are advanced techniques, if you want to call them that, for us to grow. There are different things that we can implement into our lives, and using what we talked about earlier, it's a case-to-case scenario. There are some of us that excel in certain areas, but have certain areas in which we lack. And there are ways that we can push ourselves to grow in those lacking areas.
One of my favorite things that I've been told before is that if you're the best person in the room, or if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so that's great about thinking about the people that you surround yourself with. If you're the smartest person in the room, find a room that you're going to be sharpened in a little bit better than another room.
Sure.
And then you mentioned advanced. So I thought advanced Christian techniques. You know, there was something at church on Sunday that the pastor said, and I loved it. And I thought, I was like, you know what? We're talking about advanced lifting techniques. I think this would be a really good, just advanced way to handle people in life. And he said, when we judge other people, we're judging them based on our actions. But when we judge ourselves, we're judging ourselves based on our intentions. And I love that, because when somebody wrongs us in life, or when somebody does something to us or treats us in a way that we don't feel like we deserve to be treated, we're automatically judging them. You're a terrible person for treating me that way. And you're not even thinking about what they went through to put them in a place to snap at me or say something. There was something that came from, versus if I snapped at somebody, or if I spoke poorly to somebody, I didn't mean that in my heart. I was I had a bad day today, and somebody cut me off, and I'm not a bad person because I did that. It's because this happened. And so I'm much more lenient on myself for treating somebody in that way, rather than you're a terrible person.
I think we all are that way, a little bit easier on ourselves. But I think it's important. I think it's important to try to admit when you're wrong as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And owning that, and not being big enough to apologize.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so huge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our one of my employees, Libby, she was interrupting me while I was on the rower the other day, and I snapped at her, and I was like, "Just leave me alone. I'm trying to finish." Because I was like in the middle. I had to hit 2,500 meters, and I was worn out. And then I immediately got off, and I was like, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have snapped at you." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that literally made my day. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it."
Libby's like our little sister.
I know.
Is that little annoying
little sister.
Emphasis. Did I sense the emphasis on annoying there?
Maybe so.
Okay.
We love her. Don't get us wrong. We do. But holy cow.
Shout out Libby.
Now she has to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
All right, Calvin, dude, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Give us some more details about your fight, when it is, where it is, all that fun stuff.
So it's almost 2 weeks away now, I think. December 2nd.
December 2nd.
It's going to be on a Friday night. It'll be available on the Fight app, FITE.
Okay. What's that run? Is it like $15, $20?
Yeah,
for the
$20 at the most, I believe. Yeah, and it's a pretty well known organization, so you won't have any problems with I just ended up buying a card to watch some of my other friends compete, and they did it in this giant metal building. So there was no live reception, So,
I got you.
So they this is a really awesome promotion. River City Fights, like I said. Former UFC fighter Brian Foster is the one who is been putting the fights together and everything. So I fought for another one of his promotions not too long ago, and it has just run really well. So
this is your third time to fight for him, I believe, right? So it's on Fight TV. I guess what we'll do is we'll do a link on the Ronin Style pages.
Exactly.
So
I'll share it on ours.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do it to Progressive Overload too.
What town is that in?
It's in Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's at the Muskogee Civic Center.
Okay.
So it's actually, I think, the biggest place I've ever competed at.
Yeah.
And
How far away is that from
awesome.
here?
About 4 hours.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
it's
up
a
near
little ways.
Tulsa. I don't know if
Gotcha.
it's
Okay.
south or north of Tulsa.
Okay.
But it's
Not
up that
sure.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
But,
the songs. I'm an Okie from Muskogee.
Yeah, win or lose, we're coming back to opening up our gym though.
That's
right.
December 5th,
Heck
Monday
yeah, dude.
morning.
That's
Whether I
Pumped for you
hope I don't
guys.
run anybody off if I got a bruise or a black eye or something.
nah, man, adds to the authenticity.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's kind of what we're about up there. Is we're not just training what we're reading out
Yeah.
of a book.
Exactly.
We go, we test what we train, and if it doesn't work, we'll toss that aside, try something new.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're essentially just training what we know by experience
Sure. I
works.
love it.
And I feel like a bunch of people can benefit just from basics, and knowing
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
For
so.
sure. Awesome.
Absolutely. Love that, Calvin. It's been a pleasure, man. And we are excited to see you compete and
Yeah.
to see you bring home the dub.
I'm excited too.
And it'll be great. It'll be awesome. Make sure those of you listening or watching that you are checking out the Progressive Overload podcast social media pages. We'll keep those up to date and give some links and stuff, share some things in regards to the fight and hopefully the gym too. Keep you involved in
For
what
sure.
Tyson's got going on because it is exciting. And I don't know about Joe, but I'll be there.
We're getting
So,
Joe out there.
I'll come to a class.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
come to a class?
Yeah,
He's
it'll be
gonna
good for me.
kickbox.
It's definitely worth. Like I said
It'll be good for
at
me.
the beginning, I've never left the gym
It'll be
wishing I
awesome.
didn't go get better that
Right.
day.
As long as I don't get punched in the face, I'm good. It's my money maker.
Can you set up me punching Joe in the face?
We'll set something. up. It'll be all
I
right.
feel like
I'm
if you
in.
set me and Dustin up in a fight, I feel like it would get out of hand.
Some
We're
kids
just
up.
naturally competitive against each other,
We've got
and it would just
headgear.
be a.
Yeah, it'll
Listen,
be all right.
it wouldn't get out of hand.
Bring your mouthpiece.
It'd be over pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of, hey, since the hostilities flowing, they've replaced my opponent with a pretty tough kid. His name's Lincoln Jones, I think.
Okay.
He's riding off of a 30-second knockout or something
Yeah.
in the first round.
Oh
so
man.
I'm gonna put him to the test.
All right.
See how he feels when I drag him into deep waters. Third round, we'll see if you're still smiling like that, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
All right,
awesome.
that's what I'm
That's
talking
awesome.
about.
It's gonna be-
We're
It's gonna
excited.
be a good one.
Hell yeah.
That's
I'm,
great.
I'll be there, man. I'm watching. I may not be there, but I'm gonna be watching online.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
hey, if nothing else, we'll do a watch party.
That'd be
Ooh,
good.
okay.
That'd be
Sweet.
good.
All right. Y'all take it easy. We'll see y'all next week.
Much love.
Peace.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives.